All right. How's everybody doing? Welcome back to another episode of the Pressing Forward podcast. I'm your host, Nowoola Awopetu, and today we have a special guest, one of my former teammates, also a former defensive back for the Denver Broncos, and now is a financial rep. It's a pleasure to have you. I appreciate you even coming on to share your time, share your knowledge, share your wisdom. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, bro. I appreciate you having me here, man. You know, once you reached out to me, I knew I was going to be able to do it, bro. So really, I wanted to give you praise first, man. I'm happy to see that you're doing this stuff, man. Happy to see that you're continuing on with your career and continuing to keep pressing forward. So I'm just happy to be here, bro. Happy to be a part of it. Whatever I can do to help, you know, I'm always here, bro.
Most definitely, most definitely. And so pretty much I just wanted to get into, just giving the people a synopsis on who you are. You're originally from Tampa, Florida, youngest of three kids, right?
Yes, sir.
Explain kind of what that was like for you growing up in that environment, just what your upbringing was like.
So grew up here in Tampa. I was actually a militant background. So my dad was in the Navy for 23 years.
Okay.
So technically I was actually born in Charleston. So I was born in Charleston, South Carolina. From Charleston, my whole family is from Savannah. I'm the only person that was born in Charleston. So went from Charleston back to Savannah. From Savannah, we went to Puerto Rico to Tampa. So Tampa, we've been here since I was in first grade. So that's why I just say I'm from Tampa, even though I wasn't really born here. But, growing up in Tampa was amazing. I got an amazing family. We're very, very tight knit. My mom and dad have been married for, I'm 27. So they've been married 28 years. Brother and sister are doing real good. Whole family's doing well. We all grew up very, very close around one another. And we grew up in essentially, I explain it like this, like my life kind of happened in phases, just like everybody else's. So, in elementary school and kind of like my younger years, I was really more so surrounded by like just Black culture for the most part,
Right.
And then my middle school was predominantly Spanish. So like I learned a little bit of un poquito español.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what I mean? While I was in middle school. And then when I got to high school is when I kind of got around like, more so the white culture and everything like that. So I got to really experience all three of the main cultures, I guess you could say, here in America, like in my upbringing. So I think that in itself, like created a unique perspective for me. Right. Because I got to kind of experience everything. And then obviously, you know what Villanova's like.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. So going up to Villanova, that just like pinpointed it even more. And I was like, okay, like, kind of getting thrust into the world, I kind of understood where I am, who I am, and, what I'm supposed to do in this world and how I can kind of maneuver.
Okay. Yeah. So even just hearing, seems like I know the military, growing up in like a military family, you're always kind of moving a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even then you ended up attending Steinbrenner High School. You ran track, played ball, and what else did you ran track, played ball, track, and basketball, football?
Yes, sir. So all three sports, man. So I played sports literally my whole life. Okay. Like basketball was actually my first love. So I played basketball in first grade, actually. When we moved to Tampa, that was like the first thing I ever did was start playing basketball once the school season started. School year started. And then, so I played 1 year of basketball. My dad was the coach, and one of the assistant coaches, Coach Alfonso, and who is the dad to one of my still best friends to this day, Tony. He was coaching football, and I had never played. And like, he saw me playing basketball. He talked to my dad. He's like, yo, like you should bring him out to the Town and Country Vikings. I was like, all right, like whatever. So that was my first year playing football. Oh, so wow. I played basketball for a year first, and then Coach Alfonso convinced my dad to put me in football. Then I started playing football. And then once I got to like middle school and stuff like that, that's when track kind of came in. But I never really honed the track skills, to be honest, man. I was just naturally gifted, naturally fast. So I just kind of was out there running. But yeah, so I played all three sports throughout my entire life. And then I went to Steinbrenner, which is named after George M. Steinbrenner, which is the New York Yankees.
Yeah.
So it's named after him. The first year, funny enough, the first year Steinbrenner opened up was my freshman year.
Yeah.
So we were the first class to go all 4 years at Steinbrenner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was a part of history in that aspect, but that came with a lot of bumps and bruises, bro. Like especially our freshman year, we was getting punched when we was playing football, bro. It, Florida football is already real good.
Right.
And
Right.
then we were a new school. We didn't have any seniors. Like we went 5-5. I remember one game sticks out in my head, man. When we played Robinson. Robinson was beating us 50-0 at halftime, and it was crazy, bro. Like that was one of the worst beats I ever took in my life. It was like they didn't get to second down until they already had 21 points.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like they took the opening kickoff back to the crib.
It was doing y'all bad.
Bro, it was horrible. It was horrible.
It
They
was
took the
doing
opening
y'all
kickoff,
bad.
and then we punted the ball. They took the punt return back, and then we finally got him we made a tackle. It was first down. Ran a dive up the middle, bro. It was like an 80-yard gash right down the middle.
Yeah.
It was 21-0, like before we even knew what was happening, bro. I'm like, yo, this ain't it.
That's bad.
But we ultimately got better though, man. We ultimately got better, growing pains.
Yep, as with anything. And then from that journey, even as you said, you gotta have your growing pains and things like that. You ended up getting a scholarship to Villanova University. Sort of talk about how you made that decision. I'm sure that other schools were recruiting you at the time. So what really made you kind of finalize your decision and decide to go to Villanova?
Yeah. So yeah, I did get recruited by like a lot of schools. So for me, my biggest thing was that I wanted to stay in Florida. But no Florida schools actually really gave me an offer. All of them wanted me to be a walk-on. I almost got offered by USF, but that was the year. So I graduated in 2013. That was the year they cleaned out their whole coaching staff. So like the coaching staff that was going to offer me ended up leaving or getting fired really. And then the new ones that came in felt I wasn't good enough. So I didn't get the offer. They offered me to walk on and all that good stuff. Then I'm like, the other goal that I had two main goals was to stay in Florida and make sure that my parents didn't have to pay for college.
Right.
So once the staying in Florida was kind of out the window, I'm like, all right, so I got to go somewhere that's going to pay for me fully. And then two main things about Villanova really stuck out. So to me, the main thing that stuck out was the fact that they told me I can come in my freshman year and play.
Mm-hmm.
Or I had the opportunity to. They didn't guarantee it, but they said if you come in and you work, you have the opportunity to be able to play, which ultimately I did. And then the second part, which is, heavy ups to my parents on this aspect, was the academic side of Villanova. Right. Because for me, like, how it is when you graduate in high school, bro, I really wasn't thinking about that, Plan B and all that stuff. But, my parents were heavy influences in that aspect of saying like, you can go there, you can major in some stuff. It's a very prestigious college. Like your life after football is going to be very, very good if you go to this school. And me just kind of listening to my parents helped me ultimately make that decision. I went on my visit. I enjoyed it. And yeah, once I went on my visit, man, I had fun. I met Wes, who was my roommate. Yeah. It's my dog to this day. So it's like, once that kind of happened, we gelled, we clicked. We both from Florida. I felt like I was at home. And then ultimately I decided to go ahead and commit, man. And then once I committed, it was kind of a done deal from there.
All right. So the rest was history at that point.
Yeah.
So pretty much, even from just listening to kind of you explaining your journey, seems like you obviously had good guidance in terms of your parents, being able to narrow you down and make the right decision there. Because I even for recruiting at that time, I knew I was getting recruited. I'm like, I just want to play ball. You just want to play ball at the end of the day. So, but you're not really thinking about the, life after ball, so to speak. And even during your time there at Villanova, me personally, I know that you had sort of your own adversities in terms of like injuries and things like that. Can you talk about a bit about how you was able to, continue to persevere through some of those things, and then kind of what got you through those moments?
Community and my faith. I would say those are two of the main things. Community in the aspect of, what you just mentioned with my parents, my family. Like we're very, very tight knit, like super duper close, man. So like I would be on the phone with them all the time, just kind of like venting, getting out stuff.
Yeah.
Especially when I got hurt. Because just so everybody knows, so I played my freshman year, and then I got hurt my sophomore year, or rather, I had I got hurt my freshman year and then had to get surgery at the end of my freshman year.
Yeah.
So then I had to miss my whole sophomore season. So that was when I redshirted. So it was extremely difficult for me because that was like my first real taste of the business aspect of the game.
Yeah.
Because I went from this freshman that's playing, getting all this attention, coaches want to talk to you, the teachers showing you love, the lunch lady showing you love, you know what I mean?
Right.
Now, sophomore year, you hurt, you're not producing. The coaches don't care if you're not coming to meetings. You falling asleep in meetings, they're not saying nothing. It's just like the care for you as a human being and as an individual really wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
And it was extremely tough, man. It actually slipped me into like a little bit of a depression. You know what I mean? Not even a little bit, but into depression. And then you add into the fact that I'm far away from home. I couldn't just catch a flight home because I couldn't pay for just to go home like that.
Yeah.
It's freezing cold. So obviously it don't snow in Florida, but it snows up there.
Yeah.
So like it starts snowing, it get all dark, gloomy and gray outside. Like I'm like, yo, like I want to go home.
Yeah.
But for me, to kind of answer your question, bro, like what helped me persevere through it was my faith in God and the community. So obviously being able to lean on my family and then, being a part of my faith and like believing in Jesus and just praying, bro, like praying, like for real praying, like praying in tears to the point of like brokenness, you know what I mean? And just kind of being able to, my faith being strong enough that God just kind of came alongside of me and helped pick up the pieces, and it wasn't something that happened overnight, like whatsoever, it was definitely a journey.
Struggle.
Yeah. Yes. It was a struggle for real, man. You can ask my roommates and everything, bro. I tried doing a whole bunch of stuff and nothing worked.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of stuck to my faith, stuck to what I know. And I knew that, 6 months is just the time, because that's how long the rehab was for my shoulder surgery. So like, I knew that eventually 6 months would be over and I'll be back on the field. And my mentality that was when my mentality switched to more of like, I always was a dog, but like, it was like big dog mentality at that point of like, it's not for Villanova. I'm not doing this for nobody out there. Like I'm doing this because I know that I'm the best player here.
Right.
And I'm going to prove it to y'all, whether y'all like it or not.
Definitely.
That was like when the work ethic kind of started to crank up a little bit for the kid.
Definitely. So, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, all in all, it was good, man. All in all, it was flipping a negative to a positive.
Right. And it's interesting that you kind of share that sentiment as well, because last week's episode was focused. The pivotal point of it was coping through injuries, right? And a big thing that, when I spoke on was just the mindset of that you kind of carry throughout an injury, right? In the 5 stages of grief, the acceptance, the depression, the anger, all those things happen when you initially get injured to where, now you're really trying to find your place on the team. Like you said, it's like you feel like you don't matter. You don't have a space anymore, right? And just hearing you talk, it seemed like that was something that was very passionate for you. And just hearing how the faith was something that, allows you to sort of get through those moments. I appreciate your vulnerability and even sharing that story.
And yeah, just to kind of piggyback off what you're saying, bro, like those stages of grief, man. First of all, you do your research. That's good.
Yeah.
Secondly, not to kind of get ahead or anything like that, but that was my first experience with it. Another time I had that experience is, obviously coping with injuries is one thing, and then leaving the game of football is another thing. And I would say that was another pivotal moment where I experienced those stages of grief, like very, very heavily, and being able to face that early on in my career, like with the injuries and stuff, definitely helped me a lot with the transition of facing those stages again and kind of knowing and understanding what to expect to a certain extent. So yeah, that's definitely right on point, bro. You got to be able to accept it. You got to be able to move forward.
And even on that topic in terms of the stages of grief, like later on in transition, that's something I'm going to dive into a little later on. So, keep that in thought.
Yeah.
So during our time there, I came in 2016. So I was a freshman. You was, I think, your fifth year at that time, right?
Uh, no, you said 2016.
Yeah, I think that's
So that was my red shirt junior year.
okay. Yeah, so redshirt junior year. So
Yeah.
during that time, for people who may not know, we had a coaching change. The coaches that pretty much recruited me to come to that school, Coach Trish, Coach Crocker, all solid guys, but they ended up taking job opportunities elsewhere. And then we ended up getting a coaching change, obviously Coach Ola.
Yeah.
And the standard that he kind of set in that room was just different. You know what I mean? Every day you kind of had
Very.
to show up and I kind of wanted to hear your experience in terms of like how do you feel being in that room really sort of like gave you that mindset switch and sort of elevated your game? Because I could say for one, that dude really, he made you show up every single day. So I just want to
Bro,
hear your perspective on that.
bro, what? So first I want to touch on one point that you brought up, the coaching change. So that was something I faced after my freshman year too. So the coach that recruited me was Coach Rock. Coach
Okay.
Rock Villatelli. He's down there and he coaches for Auburn now. And just kind of side note to any kids who might be watching this that are in high school, that are about to go to college and everything like that and getting recruited, do not pick a school based upon where the coach is at, because the coach might not be there the next year. Because that's what happened to me my freshman year. Coach Rock recruited me. My sophomore year, he was gone. And that was like another pivotal point in my life where I was just kind of like feeling that hurt and feeling that business aspect of things. But ultimately, I ended up staying at Villanova, played those couple more years with Coach Trish, Coach Crocker, and everything like that. Had the number one defense in the country the year before you came. So that's kind of how they ended up getting those jobs.
Yeah.
Because our defense was so good. They ended up leaving. They all got head coaching jobs. And then enters Coach Ola, who is extremely pivotal in me being able to get to where I ultimately got to and playing in the league and everything like that. Because no, not to Coach Trish and Coach Crocker, they're great coaches.
Definitely.
But they weren't talking league. You know what I mean? They were just talking fit into the scheme, do what we can do to be able to win this game, yada, yada, yada. But Coach Ola really expanded my mind, like beyond the Villanova bubble, like understanding that, there's hundreds of other colleges out there that kids are getting recruited at.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're doing more than just competing against the kids that are in the CAA. Like you compete against everybody. You know what I mean? And his ability to lead by example was really the biggest thing for me, because you saw it, bro. That dude works, bro.
Yeah.
Like even like the scouting report he used to bring in. Like I remember coming in there like on the starting of the new week and seeing the scouting report with like, it
was like 5 pages.
I'm like, I'm not gonna read all this. Like I ain't never
every formation, everything. He had it down to a T, man.
Every formation they had what was gonna happen. Third down, second down, first down. They throw the ball this many times. If they come out in this set, they're gonna do this. I'm like, I never saw the game like that.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, but that's how the league sees the game, though. You know what I mean? When we got to the league, that was the scouting report that they gave us. So like him implementing that in college, and then it gave us kind of like an early onset of it, of being able to see that scouting report and like make anticipations, bro, because like how it is at DB, like we are dice shakers. Like we are strictly gamblers. Everything that we do, and every time you see a DB make a play, it's because they made a bet.
Right.
I bet that it's 3rd and 3 and they finna throw this slant. And if they don't throw the slant and they do a slant and go, it's 6 points.
It's on you. Yep.
Yeah, like you gotta keep moving. You know what I mean? So like he made our odds in those gambling a lot higher by him just kind of being there and being in that room, expecting greatness out of us. Because we had a great room, bro.
Solid talent in there. Some talent in there for sure.
Really, really great room, bro. Like at every single level. So like that in itself just kind of like opened up my mind and really our mind to like what the limits don't exist, I guess.
Yeah. So I mean, like he said, he kind of spoke a lot on just the preparation aspect. He sort of taught us how to prepare, the mindset of how you have to show up every single day, have to come to practice, how you have to approach practice. I could definitely say that really like changed how I approached practice, how I came, how I showed up, everything. So big ups to him, just
Real.
being a solid example every single day that he showed up for sure.
Yeah. And it's proof in it now, man. He up there, he with the Broncos now, man.
Most
So
definitely,
he right
well
where he belongs.
deserved, well
Yeah.
deserved. And my question would be to you, kind of before coming to Villanova, so to speak, and kind of leading up to those moments. Like, was it in your plans in terms of like playing professionally? And kind of when did you really feel like, you know what, this is really a possibility. Like I could really do this.
So yes and no. So you know how like you just kind of have like those dreams where it's like, yeah, I want to play in the NFL, but like a lot of people say that, but they don't really believe it.
Right,
Um,
right.
and I would say I was kind of like that, even when I was in high school, like I would say like, yeah, I'm going to play in the league or whatever. When I started getting college scholarships, I started believing it a little more. But I would definitely say like for me, when it became like a reality, was when Coach Ola got there.
Yeah.
And then scouts started coming around. I started seeing them, and like they would ask me to come into the office, and I'm like, oh, like you know what I mean. I
This is
started putting
real.
my
Yeah,
chest,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
started putting my chest out a little bit. You know what I mean? And like once that happened, bro, it was kind of like it was like go time because I'm like, yo, like this is a reality now. Like it's
Yeah.
no longer a dream. It's no longer 10 years away. It's no longer 5 years away. Like it's right here. I'm on the cusp of it.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to make sure that I did everything in my ability to make sure that I didn't squander it and that I was a good steward of that opportunity. Um, so yeah, I think it really became like a realistic thing to me. Probably like my redshirt junior year when Coach Ola got there, and like when we had that #1 defense, and then I started seeing other people go to the league also.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I saw Tano get drafted, and I'm like, yo, like I remember,
Tano, Austin. Yeah.
yeah, and I remember like Tano wasn't that great my freshman year, bro. Like, and just kind of seeing him grow, not physically because he was already done big, but like
Yeah.
grow like athletically and
Right.
like really hone into his game, like gave me ambition to do the same.
Right.
And then
Right.
everything just kind of started to align, and Lord willing, I got to where I was, bro.
Right. Right. And yeah, no, that's definitely true. Just being able to see people that kind of in your same shoes be able to do the same things that you want to do too. It kind of made it more realistic too.
Mm-hmm.
And just knowing that, you guys, I would say like that room, like you, Malik, Quadi, y'all sort of kind of set that bar, and kind of once we seen that was possible, it was like, all right, it's at this point, it's like now we just got to put the work in there to really get there as well. So, what were kind of the feelings when you finally got that opportunity, and kind of when you was in that first practice? Because I know for me, I got there, I'm like, I'm still trying to, I'm really doing this right now. You know what I mean? So like really understanding like you're there now. You know what I mean? Like what was those feelings for you?
So for me, it was kind of it was good and bad. So I'll take it back to draft day because for me that was like one of the worst parts because I didn't get drafted. I was an undrafted free agent.
Right.
But my story is a little bit interesting because I got picked up by the Steelers, and they called me during the 8th round when they still had a pick left.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, I'm finna get drafted. Like I seen the area code, I'm lit. Got my family in there. And the first thing he said to me when I answered the phone was like, "We're not drafting you." That was the first words out of his mouth. And I was like, okay, so why are you calling me right now?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? And he was just saying, like, we know that a lot of people are going to end up reaching out to you after the draft. We want to be the first ones to throw our name in the hat. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, talk to my agent. Then, the draft ends, sure enough, the phone started blowing up. I was just kind of directing everybody to my agent. Ultimately ended up going with the Steelers. And then, kind of get to the point that you're talking about. I get to Pittsburgh. And it was just drastically different. It was a new culture, a new place I had never been. One thing that a lot of people don't know is that the Steelers facility is literally attached to the University of Pittsburgh's facility. So it's like not this huge like Taj Mahal or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like just a regular facility for the most part. So it was interesting to kind of be in there and then like see some of my heroes like in the locker room. Like I was I was a huge Joe Hayden fan, like when he was at the University of Florida.
Yeah.
So like I used to watch Joe Hayden highlights when I was in high school before the game.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then like my locker was literally like I could see him. You know what I mean? Like I was talking to him, like, you know, and it was incredible in that aspect of it. But it was also for me when I got on the field and like I saw that like I was pretty equal, you know what I mean? Especially to the other rookies that were coming in and like, you know, even the ones that got drafted. Like I remember guarding James Washington and like doing great and like going one-on-ones and like having a great day. You know what I mean? And just kind of being like, dang, like, okay, like I can really do this. You know, this is like a reality. And like that just kind of boosts my confidence more and more and more. And then ultimately I ended up getting hurt again. And it was kind of like that was another tough and trying time, you know. But to answer your question in specific, I think the main emotions that I was feeling was a little bit shocked just because of like seeing famous people, you know what I mean, and like them being your peers now definitely showed you a little bit. And then excited because I started to notice that like I was capable
of being there. Right. And what would you kind of say is the biggest difference if you had to pinpoint one between obviously the pros and then the college ball?
The biggest difference, I would definitely say like the freedom, and with that freedom, it requires you to be a professional. Because like, you know, in college, you know, we were blessed to have Coach Ola, like for real. Because he made us professionals like by force, low key. You know what I mean? Because like he forced us to have meetings, he forced us to come in early, he forced us to do this, that, and the Thursday after practice, yada yada yada. In the league, coach is not going to force you to do that. But since I was doing it with Coach Ola, I just kind of kept doing it when I got to the league. So I noticed that was one of the differences like in myself between the other people that were kind of coming in. So just kind of like the professional aspect of it. And then of course the speed of the game, bro. And I don't know if it's really the speed of the game as it's more so the information that they're feeding. Exactly, bro, because it's like you learn a whole playbook in a week and a half. And like the plays that you learn today, you're going out there and running today, and you're not going to run them no more until that, like at the end, you know what I mean? The next day you learn a whole new set of plays, and you got to run those plays at the next practice.
And then learn the verbiage, and then most definitely.
Bro. And then don't let you have to play multiple positions. Don't let you be out there on special teams. You know what I mean? Now it's like you got to learn alleys, you got to learn different drills. You know what I mean? So like, I think it was just like not that the game was fast, but that so much stuff around the game was happening so fast that it made the game speed up because you didn't understand it. You know what I mean? When you understand things, they slow down for you. You know what I mean? It just feels like more comfortable. Whereas when you're a rookie, bro, and you first get into the league, you are not comfortable, sir.
Not at all.
It's a whole new playbook, whole new verbiage, whole new coaching staff, whole new environment. Like all of those things, I think was the biggest adjustment to make.
So it's more so retaining the information becomes what's really the hardest part, kind of retaining all that information. And
retaining it and then being able to apply it.
Right. Being able to learn it and then apply right away. A
short amount of time.
So that's something I definitely noticed as well. Just being there in the locker room and all that. Just they taught you this today, you got to know it, and we're gonna run it in walkthroughs in like an hour. So you got to know the verbiage, be able to yell it out, and be loud when you're doing it. So that's crazy. It's crazy.
Be loud and proud, for real.
Right.
So for you, man, I got a question for you, bro. What do you feel like was the biggest adjustment you had to make?
It would probably be that, to be honest. Really, just learning the playbook. You know, when they give you a playbook, it's like, especially when you play safety too, and then playing multiple positions at safety, it's like you have to know. If this person moves from left to right, the call can change just as quick. And then just knowing the verbiage, you might be thinking of verbiage from a different coverage. So it's really just knowing it. And then sometimes you feel like you know it, but then you're just not saying it. You can just move on automatic. You know what I'm saying? So just kind of doing that is just like really learning the verbiage and and picking up the playbook, I would say was the biggest like difference. Like, oh, like you have but so much time to just learn this information and apply it right away. You know what I mean? So that's what I really noticed for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially at safety, man, because even like making those checks now is even a shorter amount of time.
Yeah.
Because if you're going in motion, like you literally got 2 seconds to think about
To
what it
think
is.
about it and then
yell it
apply
out. Yeah, and then go apply it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like people don't realize those little small, minute details that go into it. And it's like it is an immediate action. Like you don't have time to be like, oh, like what if it's this? What if it's no? You got to do it now,
right?
Because it's
right.
happening now. You know, so I definitely feel you. I definitely feel
definitely.
you.
And just I'm sort of interested as well. Is there anything that you would say? I wouldn't say necessarily regret, but like if there's something that you knew now that you knew before, something that you know now that you wish you knew before.
Like going into the league.
Yeah, just pertaining to going to the league.
I think one thing on kind of like a selfish aspect, like off the field. I definitely wish I would have bought a crib. Instead of like, kind of not wasting my money, but buying other things. I saved a lot of my money. But I didn't understand the home buying process.
Yeah.
So in general, the aspect of having proof of income, you know what I mean? I was thinking like, oh, I'm gonna save up all this bread. I'm gonna be straight and be able to get a house. But when I was no longer in the league, I no longer had proof of income.
Right.
And when it comes to getting a mortgage and everything like that, it's about like your debt to income ratio. So if you don't have an income and you create a debt, you're not going to be able to get whatever you want. So it didn't matter about all the cash that I had saved up. So I think that for me, that was like the biggest regret from like an off the field standpoint. On the field, actually, I'll say this, man. My biggest regret, I feel like, was when I got hurt in Pittsburgh. The coaches gave me the option to either stay in Pittsburgh or go home for rehab. And I ultimately decided to go home for rehab because of my experience when I was in college, being far away from home and being injured and having to do that rehab. I'm like, I'm not doing that again. Like I was literally depressed. I'm not going to put myself in that position again.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll go home where I have my community. I got my family and everything like that, which ultimately helped me in my rehab. But it was a detriment when it comes to the Steelers. And it's funny because, like I just said earlier, hindsight 2020. I remember one of the trainers in the Steelers facility. It was one of the black dudes. I can't remember his name. The only black trainer actually at the time. And I remember sitting in his office and like it was one of the exit meetings. And I was just kind of talking to him. He's giving me the ins and outs of the rehab or whatever. And he kept saying out of sight, out of mind. Like he kept saying it to me, bro. He was like, out of sight, out of mind, Trey. It was like, when you're out of sight, you're out of mind. When you're out of sight, you're out of mind. And I was happy to be going home. So I wasn't hearing none of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now it makes sense because like, since I wasn't there, I wasn't in the facility. They didn't see me doing my rehab. I wasn't learning the playbook. I wasn't a part of the team. I wasn't a part of the culture. It made it a lot easier for them to cut me when I got cleared.
Yeah.
As if I was there and I was doing my rehab there, I was a part of the team. I was going to team meals. I was going to the games. I was doing all these different things and staying like a part of there and like being in front of them and see me as like Trey Johnson, the character.
Yeah.
I definitely think that I probably would have still been in Pittsburgh that second year instead of getting cut. But I mean, who knows? I probably still could have got cut,
Yeah. Right.
That's one of those things where I look back and I'm like, dang, what if? That's kind of one of those points where I look at it like that.
Right. And I think even like you said, hindsight is one thing. And also just being able to trust God's plan. And as you know, most of the things that happen to us for a reason, and it works out for our purpose in the end. So but it's interesting that you kind of came to that perspective in terms of just looking at how you could have approached it a little different. So even just from hearing you say the off the field aspect was, being a little better in money management. And that's something that's huge right now. And that's why I want to just, tie this into the next topic. In 2019, you filed a lawsuit against the NCAA in terms of the employee wages and things like that. And that was something that was a huge topic at that time. You know, people saying, "Oh, athletes shouldn't be paid. They're getting scholarships, things like that." Why were you so passionate about that topic to an extent that you wanted to file a lawsuit, so to speak? Can you speak more about that, and what was your aim behind doing so?
Um, well, I think the obvious answer is because I lived it.
Right.
Like I remember being at Villanova and not being able to eat. You know what I mean? Like, and only getting $20 every week from my grandma and like having to that $20 stretch.
Yeah,
You feel me?
most definitely.
And then like, don't let second story close or something like that. And now you're not able because you don't got no meals left or your wild card ain't working or whatever the case may be. So it's like, I just remember the struggles and I experienced it. And for me, the lawsuit was kind of like fell into my lap, so to speak. So they needed the person who originally reached out to me was Poppy Livers. I think you probably know Poppy, right? Yeah, definitely heard. Yeah, definitely heard his name. So Poppy actually was my host on my visit, like when I was coming out of high school or whatever, doing recruiting.
Yeah.
So when he graduated, probably like 2 years later or whatever the case may be, he reached out to me in 2019.
Okay.
I was like, yo, like these lawyers reached out to me, yada, yada, yada. They're trying to do this lawsuit, but I'm too far removed from the game. He was like, I'm too far gone from college. He was like, you're still in it though. Cause I think like 2 years away. Cause I graduated in 2017, but I played my 5th year in 2018. So I was only 1 year removed from the game, from college football. Yeah. So I was still eligible to be that person. And like once he kind of gave me the gist of it, that was like a no-brainer to me. I ended up talking to the lawyer, Paul, and it all just kind of aligned and it makes sense. You know what I mean? Because like 1000% we deserve to be paid because like we are literally working 2 jobs. Like you got to go and be an athlete, and that's the main priority. Like they say student athlete, but really you an athlete
comes first. Yes, athlete student.
100% the athlete comes first. Like there was times where we couldn't take certain classes because the athletic came first. Right. You know what I mean? So like you can't sit here and even argue that point. Yeah. So I think this kind of those different characteristics of it. Yeah. To us, it's obvious because we lived it and like we experienced it. But like to the outside world, they're kind of like, oh, like why are you doing that? Because you can't understand something that you didn't experience.
Most definitely.
Especially if nobody's ever like really sat down and explained it to you.
Right.
And one thing that I've noticed, especially since the lawsuit has really come out and like articles started being written and things like that, like I've been able to sit down with people and like normal people, I guess you could say, and like explain to them like what my schedule was really like during the season and during the off season and during summer camp and fall and all that, pretty much the whole year. Yeah. And people are like, yo, like, I didn't know that y'all were doing all that. And I'm like, yeah, like, cause y'all got to go home. Like when y'all went home for summer.
Y'all went home for the break. Y'all had all these times, your vacations. We didn't have that.
We here working out. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, I think for me, it was obvious. Like it just like the opportunity came to me, thankfully to God, I'm just blessed for that position. Yeah. And I'm just the face of it, bro, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah. Like, and there's a lot of other athletes that are behind me on it. Pretty much all athletes are behind me on it. Yeah. And I think it's caught in a lot more traction since then. Most definitely. I can't really speak on it too much, obviously, because like it's still open case and everything like that. But it's looking good. And I think the other aspect of it is that I'm very big on the next generation. Yeah. Like being able to pour into other people, because a lot of people poured into me and helped me get to where I was. So I feel like I would be doing a disservice to not pour into others coming up behind me. So, just being able to create a better world for the kids that are coming up behind me. And ultimately when I have my kids, I want them to be able to play college, whatever, whatever sport it is that they play, if they play in a sport. And I hope that they get paid for it. You know what I mean? And now you got the NIL deals coming out. Like it's crazy what can really happen, so.
And you spoke a lot on the different elements that go into being a student athlete, which is often overlooked. I think, just the daily grind of what time you have to wake up, Non-athletic student, the earliest they wake up, I would say maybe like 8 o'clock. You up every single day, 5 a.m. And then I got to do everything you doing. And then some meetings on top of that, then have to do homework, so there's a lot that definitely goes into that in terms of the argument over being compensated or not. And then in just the I hear you saying about it's kind of more so a legacy for you now, trying to make a difference for other people that are coming behind you, which is huge. And in the current state of like the NIL and things like that, it gives a lot of these students the opportunity now to get paid. At the same time, something that I would love to know your opinion on it, in terms of just the money management aspect of it, right? You're getting paid, that's one thing, and you still have to take into account you're going to be taxed at that money. You know what I mean? There's a lot that goes into, just giving a college student money at the same time. So what would kind of be your advice to some of these younger athletes who are now getting paid, and how can they really set themselves up moving forward?
I think the biggest and most simple concept is the idea of living the same way that you were living before you had money. Because a lot of times, well, there's 2 points, I guess, with this. A lot of times we're going from a place where like you really didn't have no money to now you have a surplus. Like I never had a comma in my bank account until I went to the NFL.
Yeah.
Ever. And then I saw a comment and I'm like, I'm rich. Like I'm finna get this. I bought my mom a Louis bag. Like, you know what I mean? I started like just making money, which it was cool. And like, it was still like a great thing. And even with that, this is the other aspect of it is, especially with our culture. And, if we're going to be 100, like our culture is really sports, because majority of sports are dominated by us.
Right.
Our culture, money moves the opposite way. Like every other culture, money moves down. Like their parents pay for the kids pay for their kids. Our money always goes back up.
Right.
You know what I mean? A kid gets drafted. The first thing he does, go buy his mom a house.
Right.
Go buy his dad a house. Go buy his grandma a house.
Right.
Like our money moves upwards as opposed to down. And that in itself is a problem. Not a problem in the sense of we shouldn't do it at all, but I think that we should do it with your future intact and with your future in mind, most importantly. And then the other aspect of it is live the same way that you were living before, because a lot of times what happens is it's called the wealth gap. Essentially, is like people make more money, so they just spend more money. If you got these two parallel lines that are running alongside one another and the wealth is what's in between, wealth never gets bigger. So that's why people make more money, but they still feel broke.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So what you really want to do and how you kind of fix that is your income continues to increase, right? And your expenses, you flatten them out. So when you flatten your expenses out, you see how the gap in between that gets a whole lot bigger, and it gets larger and larger and larger the more and more time you have. Like that's really how you build wealth. And then once you start building wealth, you can start investing your money. You can start putting it in other places. You can start putting it in certain vehicles, certain products, and certain things that like when you talk to the right person who can educate you, not just sell you stuff. Like that's the other main thing that I would say, especially when you like kids who are signing NIL deals and like getting these big contracts or whatever the case may be. There's a lot of vultures in the financial services industry that are just looking to sell you a product and make a quick buck, that don't really care about you and care about your future. So make sure you have a very good team around you that's good at discerning what people's true purpose are and true motives are. So that way you can, give those funds to someone who will educate you and let you make an educated decision. And based upon that decision, act on your behalf, as opposed to doing what they think is best for their pockets. So I think those are like the 3 main points, I guess. Making sure that you keep the same lifestyle that you had before or a similar lifestyle. Obviously, indulge somewhat, what I mean? You don't got to keep eating ramen noodles and Vienna sausage.
You earned it. So enjoy it a little bit.
Enjoy it a little bit, but don't go crazy. Is the most important thing. And then when it comes to finding like, a financial advisor or finding somebody that's helping you with your money, make sure that you ask them very, very good questions and really get to like the root of their motives and get to know them as a person, as opposed to just like, oh, this person's good at making money. Like, it's a whole lot more than just making money, bro. You can make money your own way.
Most
Like,
definitely.
you can start a business and go find a way to make some money.
Yeah. So and kind of you made some pivotal points there in terms of just living not below your means, but living within your means, right?
Yeah.
Now that you're getting this money, it doesn't now say for you to now just be splurging and spending all the money that you're making. But just knowing how to, be financially responsible. That's what it comes down to. And a big
especially with us, bro, because that money don't last long.
right.
It's
Right.
like it's a boom and then it goes away. And you got to
Yes.
make that boom last.
Exactly. Being able to last, and then also being able to build something on top of that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even just looking at it from a systemic kind of view, if we're going to be able to give these students this opportunity, right? The NCAA is giving these students this opportunity. Now, how do they now create something that sets them up in terms of the financial literacy? Because that's pretty much what people lack when they're spending the money and spending it how they want to, not knowing where to put it. That's the lack of financial literacy. So programs and schools should, what I believe is they should, have seminars, have these things where these kids can attend and know what to do with their money, bring in people that are good with their money, bring in people that, can obviously give them, advice and information that they wouldn't be able to get otherwise. So I think that's something that's huge as well.
Yeah. I agree, man. And that's I don't know, not to kind of toot my own horn, I guess, but like that's something that I'm trying to do now. So the short-winded answer is essentially, yeah, that's something that I'm trying to do now and start trying to like be a part of that, because, when I look back at my career and even like college, they did try and do that, but I wasn't hearing it because it's like, A, all I care about is football. I'm just trying to play ball, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get somebody else to do that. And B, the person that they were bringing in, I couldn't relate to. Like, that dude didn't play football. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
right.
like he don't look like me. He got on a suit and tie. He like we don't have he don't talk like me. Like, there's no real connection
The
between us.
representation.
So why am I gonna listen to him?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I think for me being able to go in and do that, like I do that. You know what I mean? Like, I do look like athletes. I still got braids like an athlete. I still wear t-shirts like an athlete. You know what I mean? Like, I go into the office, I have to wear a suit and tie just because that's like the attire in there.
Yeah.
But like, if I'm not in the office, bro, I'm hanging out. Like, I'm chilling. But I have the education now behind it. You know what I mean? I understand the different products. I understand everything that comes along with what I'm doing now. So it's like, just now it's about positioning myself and putting myself in a little bit of a better position to make sure that I can go back to those colleges, and go back to those different high schools and even like middle school, honestly, like every level. I feel like financial literacy can be taught, because like there's levels to financial literacy.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, there's the basic level, there's the intermediate level, then there's the experience level, there's the expert level. Like, it goes more and more and more. The more and more money you make, there's more and more products, there's more and more things that you can do with your money.
Right.
But like, foundationally, man, the school system failed us, dog.
Yeah,
like, the finances, the school system trash.
Most definitely. And they're not going to learn the financial literacy in these schools and things like that. So I think what you're doing is so important. And, I definitely commend you for doing that. And it's all good. You can do your little shameless plug. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of even wanted to get into that too. And what you're doing now, you have a foundation that, you hold clinics and you hold givebacks and things like that. Can you talk a bit more about that? How people can sort of help with your foundation, where they can find you out?
Yeah, for sure. So the foundation is the Trey Johnson Football Foundation. So right now it's just I hold annual football camps at in Ybor City, which is down here in Tampa at Cascaden Park, which is a pretty under-resourced area. And the idea of it behind it is just prayer, purpose, and passion. So I'm teaching the kids just the fundamental principles that helped me get to where it was that I got to, and ultimately just pour into them. Because I think a lot of reasons why some people don't make it, especially from environments that we're from, is because they don't have exposure. like you can't dream of something that you never saw.
Right.
So if you never saw somebody that like Trey Johnson come back and he's working as a financial advisor, you know what I mean? They don't even know what a financial advisor is.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? They don't even understand that like you can be a CEO of a business. They don't understand that you can start off as a plumber, but ultimately end up owning your own plumber. They don't understand what trade school is. They don't understand what all these different career fields are because all they see is entertainers and dope boys and their mom going to work a job that like pays her $15 an hour and $16 an hour or something like that. So I think it's just like, for me, the main thing is exposure. But ultimately the plug aspect of it, my Instagram and pretty much everything is AlcatreyIsland. So that's AlcatreyIsland. And that is me on literally anything and everything. And then for the foundation in specific on Instagram and Twitter is Trey Johnson Football Camps with an S. That's also our Gmail account, and that's TreyJohnsonFootballCamps.com. You can go there. You can figure out how to donate. You can look at some of the pictures from the camp. Got some videos up and everything like that. So this year was the third year I held the football camp. First year of the community fair, which for me, I think was a very, very cool part about it. So I had 10 different nonprofit organizations that came out to the camp. They were inside of the Dream Center, which is like a YMCA essentially. That's right next to the park that I'm at. So they were doing health screenings. They were collecting emails and things like that so they can come back. I had a financial literacy people there. Suncoast Credit Union was there, people about their money, teaching them how to put their money in the bank and what to do with it and all these different things. So the point is to make an impact. You know what I mean? I'm not just trying to slap my name on something and get a pat on the back. Like I want to be able to actually make an impact and like change lives. So that's the whole dream and the whole mission behind everything that I do. Not only in the foundation aspect, but also in my business and the financial literacy aspect. You know, as we were talking a little bit earlier, that's one of the reasons why I got rid of the other business, was because I felt like I couldn't make an impact in that way. But when you're working with people's money, and you help them educate them, helping them understand everything, like you are making an impact. Right. And I've seen that impact already, and I'm only 2 years in. So like, I'm excited for the future of what's to come. And just trying to make more and more of an impact on more and more people, man. Like, I just want to be influential in the people that come in contact with me. Right. Like on my tombstone, I just wanted to be like, he changed lives. That's it. Right. You know, I don't want popularity. I don't want anything like that. I want to be silently significant. Right. That's my dream.
That's huge. Silently significant. That's huge. That's silently significant. And you've sort of been kind of the epitome of somebody who's generally cares and, wants to use, their God-given gifts and really purpose that into, ushering people into their own destinies and just, really finding out, their own purpose in life as well. So I definitely commend you on all your efforts and, pray that God continues to bless everything that you have going on and, continue to grant you the strength to keep on going and keep on doing what you're doing. So,
sure, bro. I appreciate it, man.
Most definitely. And just sort of the ending, whatever, because I said I was going to piggyback on the whole grief with transition. I'm not sure if we have too much time to get into that right now, just because we've been on for a little bit.
I got all the time in the world, bro.
Okay, so
you little bro. I ain't gonna cut you short, bro.
Yeah. Got you. So pretty much I'll just get into that and then we'll kind of end there. So so could you talk about kind of what that transition for you was like once you decided that your time was up, with the league and everything like that? Kind of what was that?
So for me, it was a unique one because so people kind of know me like for the Broncos for the most part. Because it's like when I was like actually playing, I got on the field, I caught an interception and did all that stuff. You know what I mean? In Pittsburgh, I got hurt during training camp. So like, I wasn't there the whole year. So like, people don't really even know that I played for the Steelers low key. But the other aspect of that is that when I got cut from Denver, I went to Canada, played in the CFL. Then I went to the XFL, played for the St. Louis Battlehawks. So like I continued to play football after it, but like I had kind of lost the love of the game. And when you, especially with football and sports in general, when you don't love the game, it's very difficult to convince yourself to run full speed into another human being for no real reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that, once I kind of logically put that together in my brain, there was a very big disconnect of me. Like my play kind of started to go down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I just wasn't in it as much anymore, like mentally. So once I kind of saw that, I was like, all right, like it kind of makes sense for me to kind of hang them up or whatever the case may be. But what I didn't recognize was how tied my identity was to that. Because like I said earlier, bro, I played sports my entire life, like from kindergarten all the way until I was I stopped playing football at 24. Yeah, 24. So from kindergarten all the way to 24, I don't know how long that is, but it's a long time.
Yeah.
Like my whole life was sports related. So it's like I've always been traded athlete, traded football player, trade this, trade that. And now that's no longer there. But people still see you as that. Right. You know what I mean? Especially when you get that NFL badge. So it's like, obviously the grief stage was really, really tough for me because I stopped playing football in 2020, which was COVID. Right. So I came home and like was forced to be in the house and was forced into quarantine and was forced to face my demons and was forced to sit inside of a room like all day pretty much. And it was like very, very hard. But my experience facing that earlier, like in like my sophomore year in college, bro, like if I hadn't faced that my sophomore year in college, I probably wouldn't be here today. And even saying that, not that, because I don't want to go off on a whole nother tangent. Right. Maybe we can have a part 2 or something like that. But my sophomore year, I actually tried to commit suicide. So that I know would have happened after the NFL for sure. And I probably would have been successful. Not probably, I would have been, because nobody would have been there to save me because I was by myself anyways. So that in itself was like very, very difficult. Just kind of being alone, not having football anymore. And then you add on the fact of like, I'm back home. So a lot of people know me here just simply because of who I am. So I'm still going out, I'm going to church. People see me on Zoom or whatever the case may be. And all they want to talk about is the NFL. Football. It's like, yeah. And it's like, bro, I don't want to talk about that. Like, I want to talk about something else. And then I started to recognize when I'm like, okay, I want to talk about something else. I'm like, what do I even want to talk about? Like, I don't even know what else I like. Like, you know what I mean? So it was like, for me, once I kind of flipped the switch of recognizing like, okay, like you really don't even know what else you like. That was when I kind of broadened my mind and broadened my horizons to be like, okay, let me try these different things. Let me try and do this. Let me try and do that. That's ultimately how I fell along with the Turo thing. Saw the car, somebody told me about it and was like, yo, like you should try this. I did it and it hit. And I was like, all right, like, I guess I do rental cars now. So yeah, I think like the transition was tough, but it was smoother than what it could have been simply because I had faced it already. Right. Really twice. Right. So for me, I kind of already knew like somewhat what I wanted to go into. I understood I wanted to work with money. I just didn't understand in what capacity because I didn't understand the financial services industry like whatsoever. Right. But once I kind of started to educate and learn it, started doing interviews, started talking to different people, different mentors and things like that, which I think was a very, very big influence on me is mentorship and like talking to people who were in positions that I wanted to be in. And just having them pour into me, like that helped me a whole lot. And then I also went to counseling, man. I went to counseling and that helped me a lot, kind of understand Trey Johnson, like the person and my personality type and like who I am, the things that make me tick, the things that I hate, the things that I love. All of that kind of happened like within 4 months, 5 months of me leaving the NFL. So like it was really 1 month of just like real tough, like, dang, I can't play football no more. I'm soul searching. Soul searching for sure. And then I kind of started to find my soul because I went to that counseling. And then they kind of started to break it down to me on like a piece of paper. So pretty much gave me a scouting report on myself. I was like, oh, okay, like it makes sense now. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It just connected a lot of dots for me.
No, and again, like I said before, I respect you for even, being vulnerable in sort of your experiences and being able to share that with people. Because I know there's many athletes, there's many people out there that suffer in silence and don't really have the
Yeah.
outlet to express some of those things. And that's kind of why I'm huge in what I'm doing now in terms of like counseling and things like that. Because I understand like there's mental hurdles that every day you talk to somebody, people carry these certain burdens with them every single day. And you never really know what people are going through, right?
Facts.
So yeah, no, I appreciate that you were able to kind of share that sentiment as well. Um, and then
And before you even move forward, bro, I want to give you your props because I know you're about to give me some. Um, I appreciate you doing this. You know what I mean? Like you said, people suffer in silence. Um, you using your platform, being able to start something like this, bro, and start educating people on what it's really like. Educating more importantly the next generation that's coming after you, what it's like. That's so big, bro. So I just want you to continue to press on, continue to work out and stay ready because
yeah,
that's not something that's completely gone yet. Especially for you in your position, bro. It's just getting started.
yeah,
So just stay ready in that sense. I know you already know that. But to continue to hone yourself in other things. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Continue to cultivate plan B, continue to cultivate plan C, but don't allow it to take away from plan A because
yeah,
plan A is still a real reality for you,
yeah,
bro. So um definitely just wanted to kind of show you love on that and your respect to the research aspect of things, bro.
yeah,
And like what you kind of the questions you asked and even how you asked the questions led me to be more vulnerable, to
yeah.
be honest, bro. So you did a great job, man. It was a great interview. Big ups to you, bro. I would love to kind of be back if you would have me, bro.
Most,
So
most definitely, most definitely, and I appreciate you for even extending that appreciation as well. So, yeah. So you talked a lot about just a lot of information that you kind of gave to the people today. Is there just one thing usually how I end the episodes is giving the people one thing that you want to leave with people. Kind of what message do you want to leave with people? What would that be?
um I think the biggest thing, especially as an athlete, um, two things that you need. You need to understand your why. Why is it that you wake up in the morning and do what you do? What are you passionate about? What is your purpose in this life? What would you continue to do for the rest of your life if it was free?
Mhm.
Um, and then B, um, understand yourself and really do a lot of self evaluation and self reflection and understanding who you are as a person, not who you are as an athlete. You know what I mean? But the concept works the same way that you watch film and you look at, okay, like I'm a T-step type of person, or
Mhm.
I play off my toe, or like I'm a zone corner, or I'm a press corner. Like that same concept applies to life. Like, you know what I mean? You can be a dominant individual. You can be somebody that's analytical. You can be somebody that's very charismatic and outgoing. You can be an introvert. Like you need to understand who you are as a person and then play to your strengths
Yeah.
in life, not just on the field. You know what I mean? And just take those same foundational principles and apply them to your life, and you're going to be successful, whether it's on a football field or a court or whatever sport you playing or not. You're going to be successful in life. And that is the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is not to play a long time in whatever league it is.
Mhm.
The ultimate goal is to be successful in life so that you can create generational wealth and be able to help your family and change the dynamic of your family. That's true success. Don't let this fame stuff get to your head.
Not at all. Not at all. But nah, that's a valuable message right there in terms of just knowing your purpose, knowing yourself, taking the time out to really understand yourself too. And that's something that I continue to try and tell people. It's like really find out who you are outside of your circle of influence. So
Mhm.
that's definitely huge. Again, time's kind of wrapped up here, but again, I appreciate you coming on. Sharing what sharing your experiences as well. So I hope that if you sharing your story kind of helps somebody, even if it's one person. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
you've done your purpose on that front. So yeah,
sure.
that's pretty much That's pretty much it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you having me, dog.
Most definitely. Let me just stop this here.